Hello, the game has started. It's me to go first. I've got a very non-bingo-y rack. And I think chin is the play. P and F don't go great together, but the Q on the rack is always a burden. Am I missing something? I don't think so. I'm going with this. Oh, well, I draw a U, of course. Now, is purfled good? It may be. And that does play above the eye of chin. Chin takes an S and no other hooks. I think purfled is good. Very likely to be obstructed. Not seeing anything with the Q, even though I have the U. What about the I? Prideful. Wow. Okay, this is a more productive rack than I initially thought. Okay, so both of those options are blocked. However, a new one appears because tire takes a D. But do I have a double-double through this E? I've got the pre prefix, the up prefix. No, so let's see if purfled is good. For 87. And it is. Fantastic. Okay, so I take the lead. And I have 7 random tiles, and these certainly could have been worse. I may not have a bingo, but I've got vowels to help play the scoring tiles, and the scoring tiles in themselves hold out the promise of a decent score. Now, what about a play through the E getting tripled? Not seeing anything. I'm looking for a play which will play off both the M and the Y. I have Remy. What would be better would be a play beginning with M or Y, and I don't think I have one of those. NY takes an A in front. Now, what about a play in column 13? FY is good. So if I had an AMEY play, that would score nicely, but I don't think I do. Or even EMEY. Nope, not seeing anything. 87 points for purfled. Fantastic. What I didn't consider was a 9-letter play through I and T. But we'll find out later if there was something there. Chin is quite blocky. It really inhibits access to the top left of the board, which is good when you're ahead because it gives opponent fewer options. Now, great, just 25 points for opponent. T and A don't look particularly useful because I don't have a bingo-y rack, so I'm really looking around purfled. And although I've got my scoring tiles, I'd also like to have a rackly which isn't vowel heavy. I don't have anything which goes in front of P, so column 11 is restricted. I think the best I can do here is yay for 26. Setting up my M for yum. That might be worth doing. What else do I have? Well, whatever I play is going to invite a parallel play in return. But I think that's fine. But if I play in column 13, Well, it depends if opponent's got a column 11 play. If they play in column 14, of course, they'll be providing access to column 15, which is good. So what's the best I've got in column 13? Well, the Y is less bingo-y than the M, so I am going with... Is this the play? I could play A, Y, E. What goes in front of F, D does. That's not massively dangerous. App not good. So I think this is my only option. I'm going with this. And the rack gets a little more bingo-y. I've got the AGE ending. Hermitage through IT. Oh my word. Fantastic. Surely that will stay available. Wow. A 9-letter play. Opponent cannot possibly be thinking of blocking that. There's so many nice scoring options in the top right. Or bingo floaters in Mentor. So if opponent makes a lowly play and I get Hermitage down, that will be significant daylight. But what if it is blocked? Do I have anything with T? Thermage? Doesn't sound great. I've got the meter suffix, and A doesn't look useful. Phew, I thought that was blocking, but it's not. Yeah, opponent hasn't provided anything good for me, so Hermitage for 70. Bang! Fantastic. And look at this, 2 S's on my rack. The second one isn't particularly fantastic, except to the extent that it means these are not on opponent's rack. And I can burn one of them fairly cheaply to try and extract more value from my J. So I've got Jerds and Jigs on my rack, both of which can pluralize Hermitage. Only one vowel, which isn't good. Hermitage has now provided, or started to provide, access to the top left. But look at this, 120-point lead. Well, I guess opponent is 2 bingos away. And there's plenty of tiles to come, including both blanks. And there's no guarantee as to how one's rack can go. Even with a good rack lead, you can draw poorly, and your rack can deteriorate. But right now, Jerds isn't looking terrible. I'd quite like to turn over tiles with a view to drawing a vowel or some vowels. Now, I have an I for going after P, but Ryu only takes an S. And I can't see how to play the J in that spot. Can't get the J tripled. Now, what about the E of Hermitage? Do I have a play ending in E using the J? Don't think so. I have Jag-ears for a lowly score, but taking out bingo lanes. Well, there's an E far more available at the bottom of Hermitage. So rejigs. Oh, rejigs gets doubled. That might be the play. Keeping DS. If only I had an E, I could have jiggers in row K. Can't get the J tripled in column 14. 14 minutes on opponent's clock, 16 on mine. Wow, that's quite a lot of time. I thought I'd dwelt quite a bit on some of my plays, but 16 minutes is pretty handy when there's only 54 tiles in the bag. It's interesting with 9-letter words because when you see them, well, say Hermitage, you know it's good and there's nothing to really concern oneself with, but during the week I met up with a chum in London to play a few games of Scrabble, and I had Valonia on my rack, Valonea, and I chose not to play it, and I thought, well, maybe it's spelt IA at the end, but in fact there are 3 spellings of Valonia. Valonia, the same with double L, and Valonea, and unless you've learned all 3 of them as a set of 3, which is not the way you normally learn words, when one of them pops up, it's very easy to have doubt as to its validity. So that's one saving grace of the 9s, is that when you spot them, you tend to be fairly sure of them, because they don't tend to be alternative spellings of 9-letter words, which are confusable. Great. Well, 48 points, not so great. But opponent has not blocked, or not bingoed, and not blocked my spots. So let me see what these score. Rejigs for 28, that's pretty decent. Jigs for 31, 3 points more. Opponent can score off the J. I really don't like the G. Well, lots of I's and N's to come. If I do rejigs, row M is still available. There's very little to choose between these plays. And I think given the I's and N's to come, and the 3 extra points, the difference between DS and GS, I don't think it's going to be more than 3 points. There is an A for an AGE word. If I draw one of these E's, there are plenty of nice vowels to come, by which I mean A's, E's, and I's. I am going with Jerds. Okay, well, I draw an I, no N floating. And if a floating N is provided, I won't have anything. So K and V not bingo-y. I can play Kiver in row N. But that is providing a K in column 1, which isn't bingo-y, but is scory. I'm still not far enough ahead of opponent to be confident of victory, just 110 points. Now, I do have 2 vowels, and both of which go after the P, but only an S goes after Ryu, and I don't want to burn this S cheaply. Will opponent be attracted to row N to get value from the J? No, not just 9 points. Okay, so can I pile on the pressure? Tricky. Let me see what key the scores. A good score can always help. Well, it's not the K really, it's the K plus row O. JA doesn't take an S, but it does take an R. But that was 30 points. I do like the score. And I do like getting rid of the K and the V. What about doing this? 21 points, so 10 fewer. K does take an O in front, but only an O. And row A is a non-bingo lane, which is only hot if a big tile can go on this double letter square. Well, it can't, only an O can. And I am taking out a bingo lane and not providing great floaters. So is this the play? Well, it doesn't feel great just scraping above 20 points. Let me just see what this scores. The same, and I'm creating a hot bingo lane. Just looking to see if I've got a 6-letter play. Looking in my mind, that is. Not seeing one. For buy is good. Both Y's have gone. Can't see anything onto this E. Nothing through the J. I've got Taj. No, I certainly do not have Taj. The J's on the board. Okay. Well, I don't like this, but I am going with it. Kaiva for 21. Ooh, and back to one vowel. Fortunately, opponent only got 9 for nuts, because with my lowly scores, 21, 31, 26, if opponent had been scoring heavily, they could have been within a bingo's reach. As it is, I lead by 120. Another scoring tile in the W. But the risk here is that I play a 3-letter play like wad or door somewhere else and keep 4 consonants and then draw 3 more. That's what I want to avoid. Now, there are some vowels on the board, I, E, and A, and I of Kiva. So surely I can play off enough consonants. Wad is good with a T, W-A-D-T. Just using the tiles on my rack, but I'm not seeing anywhere great for that. Now, after opponent's play of nut, are they about to bingo? There are plenty of lanes on the board, especially with the T and A of Mentor, which are super bingo-y floaters. Onto an E, I would have Wodge. That's quite nice, split or getting rid of both D and G, keeping LST. Only 20 points, but I don't think I can expect terribly much more unless the W lands particularly sweetly. Yeah, so I think Wodge is my preference at the moment. Double lane available in row K. Through this G, but I'm not seeing anything with that. Well, there won't be with only one vowel. Wow, look at all these unplayed O's, loads of them. Will they be appearing in droves on either my rack or opponents? Opponent taking a while, I'm sure after nuts. They kept a pretty handy set of tiles. Well, they either kept or drew an E, which isn't great. Only 18 points, which is good news. So my watch spot has been blocked, but opponent has created this spot. 30 points. Always nice to get a higher initial figure. I always feel 30 points is half a bingo and a decent score. GLS, I think there's some synergy there, especially with floating vowels. There's the A of Mentor, and if I draw one of these 3 N's, there's an ING possibility in column 5. And what isn't creating great bingo lanes, a column 2 bingo will be face value. A column 5 bingo has to begin S or A or B or Y. So not completely available. I am going with this. Okay, well, I draw another S, which is nice. V, less so. Don't think I have anything through an N, should opponent provide one. Keb has taken out the O front hook for K, so the triple word square top left. Not currently available. Now, although I've drawn a vowel and it's a good one, overall this doesn't feel like a great rack. V and G aren't great tiles, unless you've got a bingo with the G. So it'd be quite nice to play off both of them. Still one S in the bag. So Vigs is a way of getting rid of V and G and balancing the S's, but I'm not seeing anywhere to play that. I've got, well, both of my vowels go to the right of the P, so I could play Viz, I could play Vise. Well, Vise takes an A in front. Yes, I'm just not seeing anything great here. I've got give onto the E. 16 points, just as I've managed to increase my score to 30. I don't really want to go back to getting a score in the teens. Now opponent down to 7 minutes, and still with 34 tiles to come. Can only imagine they're super close to a bingo. Joe for 11, and opponent, well, opening up a new lane, and surely I have to do something about this. Well, why not just play gives? 27 points, that's pretty decent. Nice rack leave. I'm setting up an ING lane, but I can survive one bingo, and this rack leave goes really well with A and T. Now, interesting. I could play this. This is madness. I'm not going to do this, but I'm just showing you for fun. 46 points. And why is it madness? Because I'm creating 2 triple-triple lanes, and opponent has signalled that they're holding on to a very strong rack. So, I think this is better. A triple-triple could be devastating. As it stands, I lead by 120, and that's before this play. So, I'm going with this. Oh, all these vowels. Ouch. Maybe opponent had vowel issues as well when they played Joe. Still 5 O's to come, and no scoring tiles here, so if opponent bingos, they could be within 1 bingo's reach of me, and I'm going to struggle to score anything at all here. I've got Aloe and ABBA. When you have 1-point tiles on your rack, it's a good idea to look at the scoring tiles on the board, but none of them in a super spot. I have also in row L, which takes out column 1. What does it score? 32 points. That might be the play. Oh, here we go. Opponent bingo's face value, 66 points. Still both blanks to come, so back-to-back bingos could be on the cards. In which case this does look better. It's taking out column 1. It's interrupting or taking out column 2. So I think this is a good play, even though I'm keeping 3 vowels. Yep, 32 points is going to keep me over 100 in the lead, so I could survive a further bingo from opponent. I am going... Wow, is there a... Well, there's another play here. I could play easel. 36 points, keeping 1 fewer vowel. Easel takes an M in front. The blank would have to be an M, pretty unlikely. I'm turning over 1 more tile, which increases my chances of drawing a blank. Yeah, I think this is just about a better play, although the rack leave is pretty alarming, especially with all these O's. Whereas also kept A-double-E. I'm minded to go with also. I feel much happier with this rack leave, and this is still scoring 30-odd points. I'm going with this. Oh well, I was fearful of drawing these O's. I've dodged all of them. And I saw there were a few A's and E's to come, but I've still managed to attract one of them. And look at this, still 1-pointers. But I was grateful last turn, despite burning the S, that I was able to get 30 points from my 1-pointers. Now, one nice thing about the A is the ABBA hook. So I've got allure in that spot. That's the opportunity to turn over 5 tiles. 15 points, which isn't great. I don't have a vowel for going next to the S or a T. Only my U can go next to the G. Do I have a 6-letter AU play? Nope. I have Uriel, U-R-E-A-L. That's quite nice, the same tiles as allure. And although the L is creating access for a triple word bingo, and there are bingos ending in L, it's not the most useful end letter. Now, opponent could well be sitting there with both blanks on their rack. Just 17 tiles to go. We're in the bag. I lead by 120, and my current plan is allure or Uriel. And it's good to have options on both sides of the board. Wow, 56 points for opponent. Look at this. And no blanks played, and my lead just 60 points. Fortunately, the remaining pool not massively bingo-y. Where to play? I think, wow, the danger. Although column 15 looks more dangerous because it's creating a bingo lane, and at the moment there are none, what there is in column 15 is the possibility of opponent playing Oxide, which I think is pretty dangerous. Possibly an IXA play. Well, there aren't many of those, and there are no A's. So I am playing Uriel for 21. Oh, wow. And again, 1-pointers. No blanks. Only 7 tiles in the bag. And my lead? Just 80 points. Opponent could have an X bingo ending in L. I've still got an A for ABBA. So I've got auto in that spot. But for a super humble score. ABBA no longer good, so these opponent doesn't have the option of bingoing using that hook. But there is a bingo lane in column 5. But opponent would need to use their blank as a tile which does hook AB. Can I hang on? Just 70 or 80 points. 3 minutes on opponent's clock, 8 on mine. No extensions to gives that I can think of. Just wondering if Swelting took an S. Not sure about that. It's possible. So I've seen auto, which isn't great because it does take an S and there are blanks unseen. However, opponent couldn't make a play ending XS. Nothing goes in front of GU. Now I have Agouti through the G. That's quite nice. Great, just 26 points for opponent. That is good news. Now, only 4 tiles in the bag, so I'm looking to play off no more than 3. And given I've only got 1-pointers, I'm looking to get value from this X. I can't play 3 tiles in this spot or more, but I can play toe for 19. Can I play only vowels in this spot? 7 minutes on my clock, which is good. So A, E, or O goes in front of the X. AUE doesn't work because AO not good. So what does go in front of O? O does, and T does. So it is only toe. 19 points. An alternative to that would be this. AUE for 11, taking out a bingo lane, not creating a dangerous X spot because the X has just been played. So I'm taking out a bingo lane. X not massively scory and more useful for me, still being available than for opponent. Yeah, I'm going with this. And I draw the blank, which is okay, I guess. There's one tile in the bag. Opponent's got a great rack, but do they have a bingo? I guess row J is probably the best bingo lane with this A. Yeah, I think opponent's going to struggle to bingo, but I don't think it's going to be enough because if they do bingo, they could take the lead, but they'll have one tile. And although I haven't got any scoring tiles, I will have the opportunity to score something. And scoring something may be enough to get me over the line. Although I'm not going to score massively. I guess I've got toe, as I did before. Do I have anything 5 letters long ending in H using the blank? Don't think so. Can't get value from the Q. Yeah, the triple letter square next to the E. Not great for me. So, what's opponent got? If the board had more bingo lanes, they would be feeling pretty good with this rack. But it's not good for bingos. And there's one tile in the bag, so I don't know exactly what opponent's got. They could have something ending in A. But that's going to be a face value play, so what, 60 points? They could still be behind. But I am glad I took out column 5. They could have played a point in that spot. Well, no, they couldn't. The blank would need to be A and P, but I suspect there were bingos beginning with A. Or S. Stipend, that's what I've blocked. Wow, and I was so close to playing toe as well, so I'm glad I took a moment. I'm paying down to their last 30 seconds, so I don't think they've spotted anything great. And look at this, 6 minutes on my clock, so certainly time for me to find a winning play if opponent does find a really high-scoring bingo, but it's not looking likely for them. G, I don't think is available. Well, unless there's a front hook for Oi. But there aren't many of those M and K, I think. Okay, so opponent plays Pingo. I lead by 45. Opponent's got DET blank. They're probably going out. I'm not. Nothing goes in front of Poi. Well, this may not be best, but I think it gets the job done. Well, I think any play gets the job done. But I am going with this, toe for 19. And opponent has a 10-point penalty for going overtime. And they have to they can't use up more than a minute of overtime, or otherwise they will forfeit the game. but the game is certainly lost for them. I guess the A of also was available as a bingo floater for opponents, but a little difficult. Yeah, it would need to begin with a vowel or an S, but we'll see shortly if opponent did have one. Now, do I have an out here? Well, opponent does go out, so I don't need to concern myself with that. And the final score, 340 for opponent, 399 for me, a winning margin of 59 points, so a huge, huge win. Let's see what I missed. Wow, what an interesting game. Were there any super easy hooks that I missed? So it was me to go first. I played chin. That looks fine. Opponent plays tire. And now purple, the only bingo, so delighted to have spotted that. Opponent plays mentor. Now, yeah, Metea, the only play using M and Y, F14. Wow, I'm getting both of them tripled. But providing access to triple word squares and providing bingo floaters. So what do? I play yay for 26, and I think this rack cleave compares reasonably favourably with the others, so I like my play. I'm providing very little. Opponent plays Forb, and here it is, Hermitage. Absolutely delighted to spot that. It doesn't matter how easy the 9-letter play is, your mind isn't really attuned for looking for them to the same extent that it is with 7s and 8s, so I always feel a certain thrill when I do spot a 9. And it wasn't blocked, so there we go, Hermitage 470. Now, nice rack for opponents. No bingo, but they get a good score with the Z. Jerds for 31. Gerrits, I didn't see that, but I went with Jerds, that looks fine. And missed bingo through the G, ingenues and unseeing. Wow. Opponent plays nut. So let's go back. Opponent played nut, keeping EEINS. Yeah, they were keeping a good rack cleave. Now, where was I? I just played Jerds, and opponent had played nut. Now, this was a tricky rack, and I think this is the point, even though I'm 100 points ahead, I think this is the point at which I hit a series of tricky non-bingo racks. So, Glisk, A13. Oh, nice. Yeah, Pi, Ryus, and Bark, 45 points. Now, I play Kiva for 21, and the S is worth 8 to 10, which would suggest that Glisk is better. But Kiva burns the V, Glisk retains it. And Kiva takes out a bingo lane when opponents has signalled they had a strong rack. So I think there's certainly an argument for Kiva. I don't think it's massively behind Glisk, if at all, but I suspect it may be a little. Now, and look at this, opponent does have a really nice rack. And Miss Bingo, H14, Tensible and Stillbean through the T of Mentor. Baseline through the A of Mentor. And that was it. Okay, and opponent plays Keb. And I have another poor rack. But I play Wood for 30. And I think that's fine. Missed bingo. Oleines, C2. Wow, parallel to Wood. And Noselight, B14 through the T of Mentor. Opponent plays Joe. So L1 Vigs, I thought about that for 46 points. Didn't like the volatility, especially against a lower rated player. So I went with Gibbs for 27. Could have played Veggies, burning the E, but the E is quite a useful tile to keep. So I like my play. Now, great bingo spot by opponent of Swelting. A few other options available. Now I go to having all 1-pointers for what felt like 3 or 4 moves. So I thought about easel and then went back to also. Where's also on this list? Not here. I think it should be because it's 32 points. Why isn't it on the list? I don't know, but I do like the play and prefer it to easel. Now, great play by opponent, 56 points, which is a bingo he scored just about. So suddenly opponent has me in their sights and I have this unhelpful looking rack. So I play Uriel for 21, not much more on offer. And I'm stopping opponent having another high-scoring non-bingo play. And opponent is jolly close to Oxide, just short of the E. So opponent only manages 26 for the X. And my lead 60 points with 4 in the bag. So I play however you pronounce this collection of letters, which takes out the column 5 bingo lane. Oh, opponent, the E was the last one in the rack. Now, did opponent have a bingo? No, but they did have a double-double pigeon, K5. That would have taken them to 359. It wouldn't have been enough, but it would have been quite fancy. They play Pingo. I played Toe, 19 points. Yeah, not many more on offer. And opponent goes out with Edit. So, what a game. Absolutely cracking fun. I got off to a decent start with Perfeld, and then delighted to spot Hermitage, but then opponent came back. They had a bingo with Swelting, they had a big score with Nacho, and I was less than a bingo ahead of opponent, and with 2 blanks unseen, but the board was quite tight and opponent was unable to get a bingo down, and I held on for the win. So super exciting stuff. Many thanks to opponent for a good battle. I hope you enjoyed watching that game. Like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you next time.